King Charles III's sudden resignation from the British throne stunned the world, leaving millions in shock and raising questions that extended far beyond the royal family. In a historic move, no reigning monarch had voluntarily stepped down in centuries, making his decision all the more extraordinary. Speculation quickly followed. Was it the immense weight of the crown that had become too much to bear? Were personal struggles the driving force behind his choice? Or had years of intense public scrutiny finally led him to relinquish the throne? In this exploration, we aim to uncover the factors behind Charles's dramatic resignation, examining the pressures he faced and the possible reasons behind his groundbreaking decision. A long journey to the throne. Before delving into the resignation itself, it is crucial to understand the journey that led Charles to the throne. From the moment of his birth, Charles was destined for greatness. As the firstborn child of Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh, Charles was thrust into a world of royal expectations and public attention. Unlike many monarchs throughout history, King Charles's ascent was a long and agonizing wait. He was the longest-serving heir apparent in British history, a distinction he surpassed in 2011 when he passed the previous record set by Edward VII, who had waited 59 years before taking the throne. By the time Charles became king in 2022, he was 73 years old, making him the oldest person ever to assume the British throne. His mother, Queen Elizabeth II, had been an enduring figure in the life of the nation for over 7 decades, embodying stability, tradition, and devotion to the role of monarch. Throughout his life, Charles was continuously compared to his mother, and this comparison seemed to weigh heavily on him. While Queen Elizabeth's reign was defined by a calm and steady leadership, Charles faced numerous challenges that differed from the experience of his mother, including personal controversies and the changing dynamics of the monarchy in the modern world. Charles's accession to the throne was a historic moment, but it was also a moment overshadowed by the great expectations placed upon him. The death of Queen Elizabeth II on September 8, 2022, marked the end of an era and thrust Charles into the role of monarch. The day following his mother's death, Charles addressed the nation for the first time as king, delivering a poignant tribute to his late mother and announcing his eldest son, William, as the new Prince of Wales. The significance of this moment was profound, as it marked the official end of Queen Elizabeth's reign and the beginning of a new chapter in the monarchy. The weight of the crown, pressure, expectations, and scrutiny. The life of a royal is not one that is easy or free from constant scrutiny. The monarchy is an institution built on centuries of tradition and public service, and the individuals who hold the crown are constantly under the microscope. For King Charles, this level of scrutiny began long before his ascension to the throne. As the heir apparent, he lived his life in the public eye, with every move he made being examined and often criticised by the media, the public, and even fellow members of the royal family. Charles's position as the longest-serving heir apparent meant that, from an early age, he was expected to fulfill the duties of his future role. Unlike other monarchs, who often ascended the throne at a younger age, Charles was thrust into the limelight as a middle-aged man, already having a long and tumultuous history in the public eye. His marriage to Diana, Princess of Wales, in 1981 was hailed as a fairy tale, but it soon became a source of public scandal and media attention. The couple's troubled relationship, which ended in a divorce in 1996, was one of the most publicised royal stories in history. The media's obsession with their marriage and subsequent breakup caused Charles to be seen in a negative light by many members of the public. After Diana's tragic death in 1997, Charles's reputation continued to be scrutinised, with the public and the media continuing to dissect his every move. The media frenzy surrounding his relationship with Camilla Parker Bowles further intensified the negative perception of Charles, and it was clear that he was never able to fully escape the shadow of his late ex-wife. This constant barrage of criticism, coupled with the inherent stress of his role, created an emotional toll that would follow him throughout his life. Personal struggles and family dynamics. Charles's journey was not only defined by public scrutiny, but also by complex personal struggles. His marriage to Diana, Princess of Wales, though initially filled with promise, ultimately ended in a messy and highly publicised divorce. The breakdown of their relationship left a deep emotional scar on both Charles and Diana, and it shaped much of the public's perception of him. Furthermore, the tragic death of Diana in a car accident in 1997 compounded the emotional toll on Charles. While Diana was widely mourned by the public, Charles was often portrayed as the villain, the man who had failed his wife. This public narrative continued to follow Charles as he navigated his personal life. His eventual marriage to Camilla Parker Bowles in 2005 was met with mixed reactions, with many members of the public still holding on to the image of Charles as the unfaithful husband. Even though Camilla was ultimately accepted by the public, the pain of his past and the media's relentless scrutiny continued to cast a shadow over his personal life. In addition to his personal struggles, Charles also had to contend with his relationships with his sons, Prince William and Prince Harry. While he was seen as a devoted father, his relationship with his sons has been a subject of intense public interest. Tensions between Charles and Harry in particular have been widely discussed in the media, especially after Harry and his wife, Meghan Markle, stepped back from their royal duties in 2020. These tensions, alongside the ongoing scrutiny of his every decision, likely contributed to Charles's decision to step away from the throne. The burden of royal duty, fatigue and desire for personal peace. The resignation of King Charles from the throne can also be seen as a reflection of the overwhelming pressure that comes with being the head of an institution as powerful and historic as the British monarchy. The constant demands of royal duty, including public engagements, philanthropic work, and ceremonial obligations, took a toll on Charles's mental and emotional health. Additionally, the expectations placed upon him to modernise the monarchy while maintaining its traditional values were likely seen as an insurmountable challenge. The relentless media scrutiny, the burden of living up to the legacy of his mother, and the ongoing struggles within his own family may have contributed to Charles's decision. He had spent his entire life in the spotlight, often criticised and scrutinised for actions that many people in other walks of life would never face. The realisation that he was constantly living under a microscope, with little to no personal space or freedom, could have made the crown feel like an unbearable weight. In many ways, Charles's resignation can be seen as a final act of rebellion against a system that required more than any individual could give. For a man who had spent so much of his life preparing to take the throne, stepping down was not an easy choice, but perhaps it was a necessary one, as Charles sought to preserve his mental well-being and find peace in a life that had been defined by duty and public expectation. The end of an era, the future of the British monarchy. King Charles's resignation left the world questioning the future of the British monarchy. With no precedent for such a move in modern history, many wondered what the implications of this decision would be for the monarchy. Would it signal the end of an era? Or could it mark the beginning of a new chapter for the royal family? Charles's decision to step down from the throne may have been a response to the personal and public pressures he had faced throughout his life. It is a decision that reflects the complexities of modern monarchy, where the demands of tradition clash with the realities of contemporary life. The future of the monarchy now rests in the hands of his son, Prince William, who will likely become the next king. However, whether the monarchy can evolve in a way that addresses the changing needs of society while preserving its historic traditions remains to be seen. Ultimately, King Charles's resignation represents a turning point for the British monarchy. It serves as a reminder that even those who appear to live lives of privilege and power are not immune to the pressures of public life. Whether or not the monarchy will be able to adapt to this new reality will depend on the choices made by those who follow in Charles's footsteps. A legacy of charity and philanthropy. Despite the media's often negative portrayal of Charles, one of his most significant contributions has been his extensive charitable work. Since the founding of the Prince's Trust in 1976, Charles's commitment to philanthropy has been a defining feature of his public life. The Prince's Trust began with a humble donation of £7,500 from his Navy pension, but it quickly grew into a major force for social change, focusing on helping young people, particularly those from disadvantaged backgrounds, gain education, training, and employment opportunities. Over the years, Charles founded more than 16 other charitable organisations, each addressing different societal challenges, from environmental sustainability to the preservation of heritage. Together, these charities formed the Prince's Charities, a network that has become one of the largest multi-cause charitable organisations in the UK. The collective efforts of these organisations generate more than £100 million each year, funding initiatives in education, entrepreneurship, environmental sustainability, and many other vital areas. This incredible work helped Charles establish a reputation as a philanthropist, not just in the UK, but globally. His commitment to causes beyond the UK's borders was evident with the creation of Prince's Charities Canada in 2010 and Prince's Charities Australia in Melbourne, both designed to support charitable endeavours in those regions. Despite the controversies, King Charles's commitment to charitable work remained a central part of his legacy, illustrating his dedication to making a positive impact on the world. Even when faced with these difficult questions, Charles continued to uphold his role as a humanitarian, focusing on global issues such as the elimination of racial discrimination and human rights violations, as seen in his early condemnation of Romanian dictator Nicolae Ceausescu's actions. Health struggles, the physical toll of royal life. While King Charles's charitable work and public service were lauded, the physical and emotional toll of royal duties began to take a noticeable toll on his health in the later years. His physical well-being has long been a concern, with a history of surgeries and medical procedures that date back to the 1990s. In March 1998, Charles underwent laser keyhole surgery on his knee, and in 2003 he had hernia surgery. These earlier health issues were relatively minor, but they were indicative of the wear and tear on his body due to the demanding nature of his role. However, in the past decade, his health problems became more severe. In 2024, King Charles faced a significant health crisis when he had to undergo corrective surgery for benign prostate enlargement at the London clinic. This health issue forced him to delay several royal engagements and disrupted his tightly packed schedule. But it was what followed that added even more complexity to his situation. While undergoing treatment for his prostate, doctors discovered cancer in Charles's body. Though it was not prostate cancer, the diagnosis was still deeply concerning, requiring additional medical care and halting some of his royal duties. Despite his best efforts to maintain an optimistic outlook, the ongoing health problems underscored the challenges of managing the responsibilities of kingship while dealing with personal health crises. The decision to undergo treatment and manage these health issues forced Charles to delegate more of his duties to his wife, Queen Camilla, who took his place at major events such as Commonwealth Day and the Royal Maundy Service. Though Charles eventually returned to his royal duties by March 2024, his health struggles highlighted the physical strain of the crown and the personal costs associated with being a monarch. The relentless pressure to appear invincible, coupled with an unrelenting schedule and minimal time for rest, seemed to accelerate the toll on his body. The pressures of royal life. An unsustainable schedule. King Charles's lifestyle and daily schedule reflected the pressures he faced as a monarch. Known for his strict routines, Charles avoided taking a proper lunch, instead opting for tea at 5 p.m. and a late dinner at 8:30 p.m., often working late into the night. This demanding routine left little room for relaxation or self-care, making it increasingly difficult for him to manage his health issues while upholding the intense demands of his royal position. Charles has always been a staunch advocate for sustainability and animal rights, and these values extended to his diet. He has long eschewed certain foods, including foie gras, and limited his intake of meat and dairy products. While these dietary choices reflected his ethical convictions, they may not have provided the nutritional balance necessary for someone in his position, particularly given his health challenges. The stress and lack of adequate nutrition may have contributed to exacerbating his health problems, creating a cycle of strain that compounded the physical demands of his role. For Charles, the constant juggling of royal duties, health concerns, and public expectations began to feel unsustainable. His decision to resign was, in many ways, an acknowledgement that even a monarch must sometimes step back to preserve one's health and well-being. The decision to resign. A historic moment. The moment King Charles announced his resignation sent shockwaves across the world. It was an unprecedented move, one that had never been seen before in British history. Monarchs have always been symbols of stability, and the idea of a reigning monarch stepping down was unthinkable. The news of his resignation sparked intense debate. Some viewed it as a betrayal of duty, a failure of royal tradition. Others, however, saw it as an act of immense self-awareness and courage. By stepping down, Charles was prioritising the long-term health and future of the monarchy, ensuring that a younger, more energetic generation could take the reins of the institution. The public's response was mixed. Some felt that Charles's resignation represented a positive step toward modernising the monarchy, allowing it to evolve in a rapidly changing world. Others, particularly those who valued tradition, saw it as a sign of weakness or instability. The resignation raised questions about the future of the monarchy and whether this move could set a dangerous precedent for other monarchs worldwide. The impact of King Charles's resignation. The resignation of King Charles was a seismic event not just for the UK, but for monarchies around the world. The British monarchy has long been a symbol of tradition and continuity, and Charles's decision to step down upended these expectations. His resignation forced a reassessment of the monarchy's role in modern society, and whether the institution could continue to thrive in a world where tradition is increasingly being questioned. For the royal family, Charles's resignation was a moment of profound change. His departure from the throne marked the end of an era, one that had been defined by his lifelong preparation for kingship. Now, as a new chapter in the monarchy began, the world watched closely to see how the royal family and the British people would cope with this unprecedented event. Would the monarchy survive this monumental shift, or would it be the beginning of its decline? In the end, King Charles's decision to resign was a moment of both personal and historical significance. It was a recognition of the physical and emotional toll that kingship had taken on him, and it marked a new era for both the British monarchy and the world. How the monarchy adapts to this change will determine its future, but one thing is certain: King Charles's legacy will forever be defined by this historic decision. The monarchy's struggle for relevance. For centuries, the British monarchy has been the symbol of continuity and stability, a pillar of tradition that has weathered countless challenges. However, in recent years, the monarchy's ability to maintain its relevance in the fast-paced modern world had come under increasing scrutiny. The influence of social media, the rise of populism, and growing calls for the monarchy to modernise had all combined to create a sense of unease within the institution. The monarchy, an ancient establishment, was increasingly seen as an outdated relic, that had to either adapt or risk fading into irrelevance. Charles, who had spent a lifetime preparing for the role of monarch, understood that the institution was at a crossroads. His decision to step down reflected not only personal considerations, but also a recognition that the monarchy could no longer afford to rely solely on age-old traditions and the weight of its royal history. The decision to pass the baton to the next generation was seen as both a sign of wisdom and foresight, but it also sparked intense debate. Was this a necessary step to ensure the monarchy's survival, or was it a reckless move that could undermine centuries of tradition? A visionary leader or a man on the edge? At his core, King Charles had always been a visionary. He had long been an advocate for climate change, sustainability, and social justice, using his platform as the Prince of Wales to raise awareness on issues that were close to his heart. His environmental initiatives and focus on mental health had garnered significant attention, presenting him as a modern monarch who was not afraid to embrace progressive ideas. However, his attempts to modernise the monarchy were met with mixed reactions. Some lauded his forward-thinking approach, viewing his advocacy for climate change and inclusivity as a breath of fresh air for an institution often criticised for being out of touch with the concerns of ordinary people. Others, however, felt that he had not done enough to push the monarchy into the modern age, or that his attempts to balance tradition with progress had created a disjointed image of the royal family. The pressures of merging the age-old customs of the crown with the demands of modern society were a heavy burden for Charles, and his resignation only served to heighten the sense of uncertainty surrounding his legacy. A sudden transition. Prince William's unexpected role. For Prince William, the decision to step into the role of monarch was not one he had anticipated so soon. For years, he had been preparing for the responsibilities of kingship, but he had expected to take the throne at a much later stage in his life. His father's sudden departure meant that he had to assume leadership much earlier than planned, and with that came a massive shift in expectations. William was now the focal point of the monarchy, and the world was watching closely to see how he would navigate this new chapter. Prince William had always been seen as the natural heir to the throne, and his reputation as a dedicated public servant focused on causes such as mental health and environmental sustainability had made him a beloved figure among the public. However, stepping into the role of monarch came with its own set of challenges. Not only did he have to honour the traditions and customs that had defined the monarchy for centuries, but he also had to address the complex issues facing society today. The weight of the crown. The responsibilities of the British crown were never to be underestimated, but for Prince William, the pressure of taking on this mantle so suddenly was immense. As the new monarch, he had to represent the continuity of the British royal family, while also ensuring that it remained relevant to younger generations. The younger public was increasingly looking for a monarchy that reflected their values, one that was not simply a symbol of the past, but a living, breathing institution that engaged with the pressing issues of the present and future. The dual expectation was evident. On one hand, Prince William had to be a figurehead of stability, upholding the historical significance of the monarchy. On the other hand, he had to show that the crown was capable of evolving to meet the demands of a rapidly changing society. Climate change, diversity, and social inequality were all issues that weighed heavily on the younger generation's minds, and William was expected to lead the charge in addressing these concerns. The road ahead. A time for transformation. Despite the immense challenges, there was a sense of cautious optimism surrounding Prince William's ascension. His approachability, empathy, and commitment to social causes had made him popular among the younger generation, and many saw him as the key to modernising the monarchy without losing its core values. His ability to balance the demands of tradition with the needs of a progressive society could prove to be his greatest asset. His advocacy for mental health, his environmental initiatives, and his community-focused work had positioned him as a monarch who understood the issues of the day and was willing to take action. In this unprecedented moment in history, the British monarchy found itself at a crossroads. The decision to adapt to the modern world was no longer optional. It was a necessity. Prince William's leadership could define the monarchy's future and ensure that it remained an institution that was relevant, respected, and connected to the people it served. A pivotal moment in history. King Charles's resignation marked the end of an era, but it also marked the beginning of a new chapter in the history of the British monarchy. The road ahead would not be easy, and the challenges facing Prince William were considerable. Yet, with a blend of tradition and innovation, there was hope that he could lead the monarchy into a new age. As the world watched, only time would tell whether Prince William could live up to the immense expectations placed upon him, guiding the British monarchy into a new era of relevance and transformation.